So good morning everyone. I thought I'd kick off this video today by kind of giving a little background. We've had a few people ask like, what is it you do for a living? Some people said like, are you a middleman? Like, what do you do? At the end of each video, I kind of say we have a website, curiosityedmonton.ca. Well, that links to our store. We have an actual store. I'm in my shop right now. And that's why I'm out looking for cool stuff all the time, is I'm trying to find stuff to fill this shop. So this was a dream for a really long time. I've been collecting antiques since I was about 9 or 10 years old. I used to go to antique shows and used to go to garage sales with my parents, and while they were looking for kind of stuff they could use around the house, like dishes and things like that, I was always looking for old toys and collectibles and stuff that I thought was really neat. And my friends who were getting like the brand new toys and Hot Wheels and stuff, I always liked the old stuff, like the 50s and 60s stuff. Don't ask me why, I just liked the quality of it, thought it was cool. So that kicked off a passion for collecting. So went off and had other careers and did other things, and I've come back to now wanting to follow my dreams. So this is us giving it a shot. Life is short, figured why not? Let's try and have some fun and do what we love to do for work. So luckily I've got a supportive wife and she said go for it. So here we are, this is our shop now. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a tour around the store today and show you some of the cool stuff we found over the past year. And yeah, this will hopefully make it all tie together so you know why we're out on the road and looking for stuff all the time. So yeah, have a look around. So I'm going to start off outside and kind of walk my way in. So coming in the front doors here. The first little area we have in the store is kind of a hodgepodge of what I think is kind of cool or neat stuff. So we've got the carousel horses, some vintage signs. We've got artwork. We do carry some Inuit or indigenous art as well. So those are soapstone sculptures, some little kind of knickknacks and things that we thought were neat. So sort of a mix up front when you first walk in. So we've got some old showcases and stuff, and we really tried to keep the theme going for vintage and antique. Some artisan made skulls, and the occasional motorcycle for good measure, because that's always fun too. So really we try and carry everything from vintage pistols, and we get into artwork. That's a Haida mask from the west coast of British Columbia, and vintage wristwatches, and yeah, just all kinds of different and unusual things. One thing that sells really well for us, we get these old safety razors in, and those actually do pretty well. I shave with the vintage safety razor myself. I think they're fantastic, and we do sell them at the shop here too. So we get old oil cans, vintage toys. There's some old space toys down on the bottom there. There's Dalek from Doctor Who. So some die-cast cars, and those are the Riga oil cans. I actually found those not too recently and put a video up about those. Those are some of the rarest and earliest oil cans from Canada here. That company, Winnipeg Oil Company, went out of business in 1920. So finding a Riga oil can is kind of a hard thing to do. It's kind of like the Buffalo cans, if you've ever heard of those. They're fairly difficult to find as well. So some oil cans and collectibles. And if I pan over to my left, and I'll try and go slow so I don't get anybody motion sick, we've got some sculptures that artist friend of mine named Ushitat does. He did this skull, so if you've ever seen this in the background here, this is carved from a piece of wood. And yeah, he just does some really cool, interesting stuff, so we bring his things in. This is a late 1800s Cree healing chair. So this is a Cree chair that was made in northern Alberta. And there's a picture of a Cree chief sitting on a very similar chair. So that's the sort of fellow that would have sat in this chair. But a really cool piece of history. I love getting stuff like this in. And up top, we've got some more cans and coolers. Red Baron biplane up there. And over on this side, there's the nickel digger, which my daughter and my boys love to come in and play this. We filled it up with saltwater taffy the other day. So they love having fun with that. These are some finds from today. So I went out this morning. We're closed on Sundays and Mondays because, well, family time. And then I also go out picking for stuff on Monday. So we got this old North Star oil sign. This is a really early Orange Crush sign. I just got this one this morning. You can see the patent date on the bottle is 1920. And the date of this sign, let's see, I believe it would be 1926. So really, really early Orange Crush sign. It's embossed tin. So got that, and then there's a little Inarco sign underneath there as well. So again, more vintage pistols and half-hull ships and old vintage swords. We also get into some of the artwork and stuff as well. These are some documents and maps from the 1600s. So that's a map by a fellow named John Speed, and he put this together in 1610, and it's lasted all these years, and it's in fantastic shape. So sometimes we get some of the vintage and historic stuff as well. So it's kind of going upstairs there. There's more upstairs as well. We're going to come back this way. And the motorcycles kind of come and go. It's getting close to winter, so I've cleared out. When we first opened, we had about 15 motorcycles. We're down to about 4 or 5 right now. And it's an old Canadian military bike, which I've got a video up of that running and driving around. Same with the old 63 Triumph here. This is a little Model T replica that I picked up. An artist in California makes these. Does a fantastic job, but just a really neat piece. The old BA sign. So British American, got bought out by Golf back in the late 60s, and they started switching the colors out to Golf colors. So that's a transition sign where it's in the Golf colors. So they did that so folks coming up from the US would know that it was a Golf station, even though we were used to the BA up here. So my little tractor, which I got a video of me driving that thing around up on YouTube right now. And some general store merchandise and old books and magazines. Lots of old advertising clocks. We really like those. I mean, they're great. They tell time, they light up, they're advertising. It's kind of checks a lot of boxes for collectors. Some old Hudson Bay trade blankets and cash registers, clocks and that kind of stuff. And then, oh yeah, this flight suit, that's really cool. This fella that I got the flight suit from, his dad was part of the Mercury 7 program, and that flight suit there came from who was in the U.S. Air Force in the 60s during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Well, basically mid-50s to late 60s. So a lot of history behind that, and I do have all the pictures and provenance on that too, which is nice. And we carry some new stuff too. So we carry some cool motorcycle model kits and the Kit Kat clocks, which are pretty traditional, and just some newer kind of toys and stuff that are kind of fun to have around. And some really early vintage toys in the case here, going back to the 20s, like old 20s Buddy L, 30s Marks, some of that kind of stuff. We had a nice collection we bought from a fellow not too long ago. These are all late 1960s, so we've got a whole bunch of those that came in. And as I pan around here, there's some old model airplanes from the 50s and 60s. So just lots and lots of different sorts of toys and fun stuff. And especially around the holiday season, people love to stock up on this stuff for Christmas gifts. And we have collectors that come in basically all year round looking for vintage toys, so we keep them on hand. And even some of the toys that they're reproducing too, like the Fisher-Price phones and that, we'll bring some of that in, just, so if somebody's come in and wants a retro toy for their kids or for the baby or whatever, like all kinds of neat stuff. These are all Corgi toys. I had a video of me getting this collection, and we've sold down to probably about a third of it, but still lots of really cool stuff left in stock. And all little Matchbox toys, if you guys remember those. Those are 50s and 60s, and it's nice to get them when you can with the original box as well. And some Dinky toys. So just lots and lots of different sorts of things. Slot cars. And pinball machines. So we do get the pinball machines in the shop pretty regularly, and like to keep these guys up and running in good shape. So I get them serviced, and we have them in the store so people can play them, but they are also for sale as well. And there's the old hairdryer that I turned into a lamp. It actually looks a lot nicer at the base. Like I took some time and did some pinstriping on it, and yeah, it turned out all right. So as you can see, just kind of a variety of stuff. So I like to keep it fairly eclectic in here. So when I'm out looking for things, I can try and keep a good variety in stock. So we're going to head upstairs. More advertising signs, some early John Deere signs, more advertising clocks, some artwork, some watercolors and paintings, really early pre-Prohibition era cigar store and liquor store advertisement. That's a really neat piece. Another old sign, Mother Graves Worm Exterminator. If you got worm problems, I think a person would be willing to try just about anything. Some old vibraphone. So this is the upstairs here. We've got an old canoe hanging out in the ceiling. And then as I pan over, we've got another giant biplane hanging out here. It's 1/4 scale, I believe. And so some knickknacks and household stuff, and some cool china and dinnerware. Guitars, records, some oddities. So just kind of a mix of all kinds of different things. And of course, records. You can't have an antiques and collectible store without a good selection of records in stock. And some of the old guitars we have in. Some old 60s guitars and some mid-60s Magnatone Typhoon, and that's actually never been used. I got it from a fellow who got it from the store that was unsold stock. It still actually has the price tag on the back from about 1964 or 5, so it's in perfect shape. And some old, arch tops, K, blonde K right there. It's an earlier one. You can tell that it's got the decal on the top. So yeah, just kind of a mix of all sorts of different things. And on a personal note, I collect vintage cars. Well, I have a couple vintage cars. We drive around the old ambulance because, well, it's practical and it's cool and it makes sense for the store, but also I like driving around cool old cars, so why not? I'm into motorcycles, and I collected toys for a really long time too, as well as vintage wristwatches. So I collect a lot of stuff myself too. It's hard not to when you're in this kind of business. But we love having fun, love doing this stuff. I also like to head out to scrapyards and have fun. I've been doing that since I was a kid too. So get to meet lots of cool people and have lots of fun. So yeah, if you're ever in town, we're in Edmonton, Alberta. If you're ever up in this area, come in and say hi, come in for a visit. Be happy to see you guys through. In the meantime, stay tuned for more videos as we go on adventures, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. There's always different stuff going on and different adventures happening. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.